peace and happiness of the whole humanity. Om Stapakaya Chadamasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Stapakaya Chadamasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avadara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Yate Namah Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. In the last class, I had just started the topic, who is your best friend? And I said how Sri Ramakrishna looked upon this world, this whole Prakriti, nature. The whole thing is God Himself, Purush and Prakriti, the whole nature. It is projected by God Himself. The whole creation has been projected by God. So we have been living here because God is so gracious in giving nature to us. So, in order to realize the truth, there are so many options. One may take to Vedantic approach, that is negating everything that the senses perceive, to concentrate upon the reality itself. That's one approach. In fact, when Sri Ramakrishna was about to leave his body, Swami Vivekananda was sitting at the lotus feet of Sri Ramakrishna. A doubt entered into Swami Vivekananda's mind. Sri Ramakrishna had previously said many times that he was none other than Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna. And now Swamiji began to think that if Sri Ramakrishna proclaims that he was an incarnation even at this last stage of his life, because Sri Ramakrishna could not even get up, he had become so weak, then he would believe what Sri Ramakrishna had said earlier. As soon as the thought came to the mind of Swami Vivekananda, who was sitting near the lotus feet of Sri Ramakrishna, immediately Sri Ramakrishna got up from the bed and he sat up. Then he said very clearly, look, you are entertaining doubt even now. One was Sri Ramchandra in Treta Yuga, one was Sri Krishna in Dwapar Yuga, he is now Sri Ramakrishna in this age. But not in your Vedantic sense. That he made very clear. If you take Vedanta, the only reality is absolute Brahman, nothing but Brahman. But when you come to relative, when you become aware of the relative consciousness, then incarnation, nature, Purush, Prakriti, gods, goddesses, animals, plants, the whole creation has to be considered. And as long as we are having body, mind and the senses, we have to accept the relative reality also. One is absolute standpoint and the other one is relative standpoint. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna said, propitiate mother, then you can get into highest state of realization. Even non-dual state you can realize by the grace of the Divine Mother. But you need to propitiate her. Because you are in the realm of Maya, you are in the realm of Prakriti. You can't simply be arrogant. Oh, I am myself, I can do anything. I am beyond nature and there is nothing other than me. If I can do, I can do. So that kind of thinking will not help. Again, to take an example, there was Totapuri, the guru of Sri Ramakrishna, who initiated Sri Ramakrishna into the spiritual discipline of non-dualism. And Sri Ramakrishna, because his mind was thoroughly pure and he could realize the non-dualistic state within 3 days, for which Totapuri himself had to struggle for 40 years. And Totapuri himself was amazed at the quickness at which Sri Ramakrishna got into that highest state of samadhi. But then afterwards, next day, as usual, Sri Ramakrishna began to clap his hands and dance and singing the glories of the Divine Mother. And Totapuri did not like that, because when once you have realized the one without a second reality, what is the meaning of dancing and this, that, etc., then he began to make fun of him. What, you are making chapati, rotis? You are clapping your hands? He was making fun. But Sri Ramakrishna did not react. On the other hand, he simply kept silent. Now, Sri Ramakrishna became the guru of Totapuri. He is now teaching Totapuri to know that he should accept the Divine Mother, the Shakti of the Parabrahman. Brahman by itself will not act. To act upon, it relies upon its power, Shakti. Just like fire. How do you understand the fire? By its power to burn. So, finally, Totapuri had to admit that. It's a very famous incident, very interesting detail is given there in the Great Master. How he got stomach pain and he could not concentrate. Though he tried several times, he could not sit. Still that pain was persisting. He was telling, oh, I am not this body. I am different from this. I have realized that the absolute truth. I am the self. I am the Atman. I don't care for this body. Even though he was telling all these things, the pain was pulling him down. And he became disgusted. And he said, well, I am sure I am not this body. So why should I bother about this body at all? Let this body be thrown away into the river. So with that determination, he went and jumped into the Ganges. In Calcutta, you must see Ganges is like a ocean. Several feet deep, maybe 1,000 feet deep. Huge river. And he began to walk through. His idea was he didn't want to continue his body. He wanted to throw away his body, as it were. He may want it, but even though he walked through, he could not drown himself. He was crossing almost 3/4 of the bed of the Ganges river. He could not drown himself. Then he was surprised. He was amazed. Well, what is this wonder? I have no power to give up my body. I can't do that. What is that inscrutable power? He was just wondering. Immediately he got the vision of the Divine Mother. That happened because Sri Ramakrishna bestowed his grace upon him. He wanted to make his realization complete, fulfilled. Previously his realization was partial. Now it is full. That is, now he accepts both Prakriti, Brahman and its power. Both are real. Well, as I said earlier, there are so many options. Many people cannot meditate on the abstract. If you say you meditate on Atman, at the center of the heart, What do they understand by that? What do they understand? If you say, look, you have meditate on this object, there is the object, you see the object, yes, concentrate on that. You will understand and you will do it. Lord Krishna himself has said in the Bhakti Yoga, many people cannot follow the Advaita system. For them Bhakti is there. And he gives number of options. Then lastly he said, if a person cannot do any of these things, all right, let him do selfless work. Like that he says. So anyway, the point what I am telling now is, I am dealing with this subject in a different way. See, we are not away from God actually, to say. We are in God. Because we are not aware of that fact, we are suffering. That's all. The moment you become aware that you are in God, you are always surrounded by God consciousness, then the very moment you will be free from all types of sufferings and mental tensions. But the conviction must be very strong, great, and you must behave accordingly. Everything must go in a proper way. Then only you will have tremendous success. You have born in this world, you are living a life, what for? To realize the truth, to realize the reality. So, propitiate Mother. That means Mother is present in so many ways. She is present as nature. So adore it, worship. Never go against the nature. Don't pollute the air, don't pollute the water, don't pollute the fire. So if you try to adore the things, in a way the world, what do you mean by adoring? That means you are loving everything. You love everything. You love because God is present in everything. God is my beloved. So I love everything. It follows like that. So, we must have this perspective. Then you will know every creation in nature has a purpose. It has a function of its own. It's not for nothing that the creation is done. It has got its purpose. And it works, whether you believe it or not. Because we are not aware of this fact, we act and disturb the equilibrium of nature. To take an example, see, frogs are there, frogs. They are abundantly they are present in paddy fields because they get a lot of food there. But what has happened? People, out of their greed, they kill these frogs. Sometimes they cut the legs of the frogs and export them. In India they have been doing, particularly in a country, Kerala. Of course it is a very lucrative business, but what has happened by that? Thousands of frogs had been killed. The reaction was, it has led to an imbalance in nature. What was the result? The absence of frogs had increased the pests in paddy fields and great damage to the crops followed. Nowadays, people use lot of chemicals, tremendous. So much they have used. What has happened as a reaction? The groundwater has become polluted because of the chemicals. Once upon a time it was considered groundwater, underground water was very, very pure because the rainwater, after passing through so many layers in the earth, goes to the bottom, so it must be very clean and pure, purest, you can say, purest of the pure. But now you can't say that because the earth has been polluted by introducing all sorts of chemicals, And of course there are various other methods also. You don't have to use chemicals and destroy the properties of the earth. But anyway, what we are doing, we are obstructing the natural function of the creation and bringing suffering to the people. And there was another example, there was a talk of taking a project, Silent Valley project in Kerala, to harness hydroelectric power. But the result was it risked the ecological balance, tremendous disturbing of the surroundings. So that would have a very bad effect on the climate of the region, which may lead to serious consequences. So you must know how to live with the nature. You must know how to move in harmony with its surroundings. That means you should cultivate some discipline. You should know how to cooperate and coordinate. Then only you will be successful in life. Whether material life or spiritual life, you must get success. But what is important is to maintain harmony and to cultivate discipline, cooperation and coordination. These factors are very, very important. If you follow them, wherever you are bound to have peace and joy. Well, what we see in general, all activities of man, they are planned and executed according to his internal nature. This is the motive force that whips him up to action. Something comes to his mind, it becomes very predominant, and he immediately acts upon to do that. An example is taken. Unless the electric supply is steady, non-fluctuating, the electrical equipment, even though it is marvelous and it may have very good design, still it will not work efficiently because the electric supply is not steady, it is fluctuating. Likewise, unsteadiness in one's internal nature will lead to follies and futilities. If a person is unsteady, he can't expect any happiness and he can't expect to realize the truth. And he cannot, because the very fact is that he must become steady. He must become steady. That's very important. So it is out of inner victory that the results might come up afterwards will be victorious. Then only one can conquer the outer world. Inner impoverishment will not lead to external enrichment. Change is subject and the object is bound to change. There is an ancient sage, his name is well known in India, Charaka his name, the first and foremost authority in Indian medicine. He said, what's the cause of the disease of the gross human body? He has pointed out, they are envy, pride, fear, anger, greed, folly, arrogance, delusion or injurious acts emanating from these. Even modern medical practitioners attribute the cause of hypertension, peptic ulcer to mental worries. From this it is evident that one has to adjust his internal nature before he moves out to the external nature. It's a common experience that when a man is prompted to any undesirable action, an inner voice warns him against it. I have told many times in the class that each person has two minds. One is spiritual mind, the other one is non-spiritual. Both are present, but the non-spiritual mind is very active. I should say it is hyperactive. The other one, the spiritual mind, is almost inactive. That means it is in dormant state. But you must know it is there. It always gives signal. Though it may be very feeble because you have not given attention to development of the spiritual mind, whatever the thoughts that might come up out of the spiritual mind, even though they are feeble, they are there. You are not giving attention to them, so Though the signals come, you don't care for the signals, so you meet with accidents. That is sufferings. Sufferings are accidents. So, in this condition, two forces are fighting with each other in a person. One from the mind propelled by desire, propelled by passion, propelled by sense gratification, and the other, the internal voice originating from the inner core of man spontaneously and uncaused, the witness of the mind, the conscience, what we call manasakshi. Mostly, the non-spiritual mind subdues the spiritual one, and man is forced to act. But immediately after the activity, he feels sorry and even repentant. This internal conflict makes him confused and leads him to thoughts which are agitated, faltering, and uncertain. So, if the action is guided by the non-spiritual mind, what happens? It may lead to disappointment and even failure. But if one's action is in harmony, in unison, there is peace and happiness as the mind is steady and at peace. In such cases, there is no disappointment or repentance. So if he acts upon the advice, the thoughts emanating from the spiritual mind, he is bound to get peace and happiness. So, to act according to one's own conscience, to obey the dictates of the internal voice, the voice from the spiritual mind, what is required is self-discipline or self-control. In this case, the internal voice predominates and suppresses the forces emanating from passion, pride, arrogance, desire, lust, greed, envy, fear, hatred, vindictiveness, etc. But what we see generally is that self-discipline is not properly attempted. We talk of discipline, but in practice we are not doing anything. So we don't get the result. Why we are not properly attempting to practice? Because the practice is painful and repellent in the early stages. It's just like doing exercise. You don't feel like doing it sufficient time because you feel pain here, there, etc. in the beginning. On the other hand, yielding to desire at first sweet and soothing, but it ends up in some kind of frustration later. But self-discipline leads one to self-confidence and self-reliance, which are essential and valuable assets for leading a happy, successful and fruitful life. Man does not live until he begins to discipline himself. He merely exists. He never reflects on the values of life and leads a life of sensations and confused ideas. He will not have any peace as he is tossed about in his surroundings without an aim or goal, nor will he be able to get away from the clutches of different forces pulling him hither and thither. One whose inner life is so ungoverned and chaotic naturally manifests this confusion in his outer worldly activities. In due course, worldly failure and disaster court him due to the inward failure to properly adjust and regulate the mental forces which shape the outer life. So, man should acquire the courage to renounce the low appetites, clinging attachments, and consequent foul motives gurgling from within. Crookedness in thoughts, emotions, and general conduct has its self-destructive influence on our personality. Actions belying one's own true intentions and motives, convictions, realizations, and discriminations would result in the crookedness of one's personality. He who is indulging in this way of life would thereby develop in himself a split personality and will soon lose the glow of effectiveness and be impoverished in the powers of personal grit. So, a subjectively shattered personality cannot find peace or fulfillment in any situation. Internal impoverishment will not lead to external enrichment. Swami Vivekananda said in one of his talks, power will come, glory will come, goodness will come, purity will come, and everything that is excellent will come when this sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity. With the practice of self-discipline, a man begins to live, for he slowly rises above the inward confusion and adjusts his conduct to a steadfast center within himself. He ceases to follow where inclination leads him and lives according to the dictates of reason and wisdom. He is able to control those passions which have hitherto controlled him. He is no more under the control of these passions. He resists temptation and guards himself against all those tendencies to self-gratification which are so easy and natural and which formerly dominated him. Usually we find that a person who doubts others and has no confidence in others may not be able to do anything successfully. This lack of confidence in others is because he has no self-confidence. Self-control develops self-confidence and in turn self-reliance. Again Swami Vivekananda said, if you have faith in the 330 millions of your mythological gods and still have no faith in yourselves, there is no salvation for you. Have faith in yourselves and stand upon that faith. Believe first in yourself and then in God. Very significant teaching. In this context, it is worthwhile recalling the advice given to King Janaka by his guru, great Maharshi Ashtavakra, as a first step for self-culture or self-development. He says, seek forgiveness, straightforwardness, kindness, cheerfulness and truth. Kshamarjava daya tosha satyam piyushavat bhaja. Thus we find that nature, external and internal, is the best friend, philosopher and guide of man. If he lives in harmony, in unison with his internal and external nature, his life will be a great success. So, you must conduct yourself properly, introducing yourself into self-disciplining and always aware of what you are doing. So, if you conduct yourself, your activities in this way, then you will see how nature is helping you all the time to develop yourself, to unfold your spiritual dimension, by which you will get into real peace and happiness. Page 668, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. The milk in the pot hisses and swells as long as there is heat under it. Take away the heat and the milk will quiet down as before. One must increase one's strength by sadhana, otherwise one cannot preach. Sri Ramakrishna said, I said to Keshav, he asked me, Sir, is there an afterlife? I didn't commit myself either way. I said that the potters put their pots in the sun to bake. Among them you see both baked and soft pots. Sometimes cattle trample over them. When the baked parts are broken, the potters throw them away. But when the soft ones are broken, they keep them. They mix them with water and put the clay on the wheel and make new pots. They don't throw away the unbaked parts. So I said to Keshav, the potter won't let you go as long as you are unbaked. He will put you on the wheel of the world as long as you have not attained knowledge, as long as you have not realized Him. As long as you have not realized your unbaked pot, He won't let you go. You will have to return to the earth again and again. There is no escape. You will be liberated only when you realize God. Then alone will the potter let you go. It is because then you won't serve any purpose in this world of Maya. The Jnani has gone beyond Maya. What will he do in this world of Maya? But God keeps some Jnanis in the world of Maya to be teachers of men. In order to teach others, the Jnani lives in the world with the help of Vidya Maya. It is God Himself who keeps the Jnani in the world for His work. Such was the case with Shukadev and Shankaracharya. To Bankim Chandra, Sri Ramakrishna said smilingly, "Well, what do you say about man's duties?" Bankim Chandra said smilingly, "If you ask me about them, I should say they are eating, sleeping and sex life." Master said sharply, "Hey, you are very saucy. What you do day and night comes out through your mouth. A man belches what he eats. If he eats radish, he belches radish. If he eats green coconut, he belches green coconut. Day and night you live in the midst of lust and gold, so your mouth utters words about this alone. By constantly thinking of worldly things, a man becomes calculating and deceitful. On the other hand, he becomes guileless by thinking of God. A man who has seen God will never say what he has just said. What will a Pandit's scholarship profit him if he does not think of God and has no discrimination and enunciation? Of what use is erudition if the mind dwells on lust and gold? Kites and vultures soar very high indeed, but their gaze is fixed only on the charnel pit. The Pandit has no doubt studied many books and scriptures. He may rattle off their texts, or he may have written books, but if he is attached to lust, if he thinks of money and honor as the essential things, will you call him a Pandit? How can a man be a Pandit if his mind does not dwell on God? Some say about the devotees, day and night these people speak about God. They are crazy. They have lost their heads. But how clever we are. How we enjoy pleasure, money, honor, the senses. The crow too thinks he is a clever bird. But the first thing he does when he wakes up in the early morning is to fill his stomach with nothing but others' filth. Haven't you noticed how he struts about? Very clever indeed. There was dead silence. Sri Ramakrishna continued, "But like the swan are those who think of God, who pray day and night to get rid of their attachment to worldly things and their love for lust and gold, who do not enjoy anything except the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, and to whom worldly pleasures taste bitter. If you put a mixture of milk and water before the swan, it will leave the water and drink only the milk. And haven't you noticed the gait of a swan? It goes straight ahead in one direction. So it is with genuine devotees. They go toward God alone. They seek nothing else. They enjoy nothing else." Tenderly to Bankim, Sri Ramakrishna said, "Please don't take offense at my words." Bankim said, "Sir, I haven't come here to hear sweet things." She'll stop here. So, adoring the nature, not disturbing the function and purpose for which the nature is there. So we must know how to live in nature in harmony with cooperation and coordination. Then it will be really wonderful. Say for example, the holy Ganga, I have seen how it is coming from Gomukh, the source, and it spreads out. And millions of people are living on account of the Ganga. Very good water for cultivation. But how foolishly people are polluting the river. It has crossed all the limitations. It has become utterly polluted. Even Yamuna, one of the holy rivers like Ganga, has been totally polluted, and now they are taking steps what to do. That's the tragedy. We pollute the things, we spoil it, and get into lot of sufferings, not only to ourselves but to the whole humanity. That's not the way. If you cherish love towards nature, you should take care not to pollute the water consciously. What is there on account of which you are living? Without water you cannot live. So the other day I had gone to Dallas for a retreat program. They were all hankering for rain. They didn't have rains at all this time. And all the grass had become dry and whole thing. And I asked them, what about drinking water? What do you do? How do you manage? And they said they have got one lake, and as long as that lake water is there, they will get the drinking water supply, and afterwards that will stop. But they were trying to get the underground water, but they found it is totally unusable because of the chemical reactions in the earth. So sometimes we don't even learn through suffering. We suffer, still we do the same mistake. We know we should not pollute it, still we do pollute it. That's the danger. Understanding comes slowly. You must have analytical mind, approach, attitude, very important. With what attitude you are. Let me do my part. What XYZ does should not bother about that. Why? Let me do properly. Let me do meditation properly. Let me follow discipline properly. That's the way to do. Otherwise you can't correct the world. World goes in its own way. But if individuals think and try to improve themselves, individuals finally form the society. So that's why that awareness must be brought about. People should know things in a proper way, and then application will come. Knowing is important, then application is equally important. Simply knowing is not enough. Knowing and doing both must be done.